they were nothing. Everyone else, every place else had appreciated it, and we didn't, you know?
This is the Hastings Planning Commission. Today is March 12th, 2018, and this is a regular meeting. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our February 12th meeting. Commissioners, do we have any corrections or additions? If not, do we have a motion for approval?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Well, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Second item on the agenda is the comprehensive plan update.
There you go.
Thank you, Vice Chair Alpao. I'll get started on that. I'm going to go provide some background information on the comprehensive plan in preparation for reviewing the draft update that the Planning Commission will likely review at a meeting in April. A comprehensive plan is the policy document that details the vision and goals for the city of Hastings and outlines the steps to take in order to achieve that vision. Our comprehensive plan guides future decisions regarding physical, social, economic character of the city. It's extremely beneficial to the city, but it's also a requirement of the Metropolitan Council, and it's required by state statute. The current plan was written in 2007, 2008, and it looked out 20 years to the year 2030. And we're in the process of updating that plan, but now we're going to look out 20 years to the year 2040. The plan is used for identification of ordinance changes to realize our goals and objectives, guide future changes to the zoning map, identify land for intended uses, a reference for application review of proposed development, guide major capital improvement decisions, among others. The existing plan was written from the ground up with a large steering committee and consultant working on that. The future development envisioned at that time was based on the current rate of development at the time. Since there's been almost no expansion to the city's perimeter since that time, those projections are still fairly valid. For this plan, the City Council directed staff to update the current plan, but include more public outreach than the previous plan did. There's currently a 19-member steering committee that was formed by volunteers from the community, and it also includes chairs of the Planning Commission. Originally it was Adam Estenson and now Jeffrey Deaver, the Park and Recreation Commission, Heritage Preservation Commission, and HEDRA, which is the Hastings Economic Development and Redevelopment Authority. This committee has been meeting since May of 2017 to review the public input and provide direction and proposed edits to the 2030 comprehensive plan based on feedback that's been received throughout the beginning half of the project. In your report was kind of a highlight of some of the public outreach that's been done to date. The chapters of the plan include the introduction, the planning process and public engagement, the population growth, land use, transportation, community design, economic competitiveness, housing, heritage preservation, park, open space and trails, MINRA critical area, resilience, which is how to be resilient in the face of adversities related to economy, weather, disasters, etc. Surface water management, wastewater, water supply, and plan implementation. After the last steering committee meeting on April 5th, the draft plan will be reviewed publicly at an open house and presented to the community and the commissions for input before being reviewed by the City Council. After the city council finishes its review of the plan, it'll be sent to some government agencies along with surrounding communities for comments. After that's all been reviewed by those parties, it can be adopted by the city council. And the project deadline would be the end of 2018. With that, I don't know if you'd have any questions at this point. Otherwise, John, if you got anything to add about the comprehensive plan, how it was done in, for the 2030 plan, or anything I might have missed, you can add on to that.
Sure, I just have a couple of comments for the commission here. I think a key point what Justin had brought up is that what we're looking at this time around is an update to the existing comprehensive plan. As you all know, over the last 10 years or so, the growth, especially in the housing market, was pretty anemic. And so the boundaries that we had set out 10 years ago have not been grown into, so we're looking at this as more of an update as opposed to something that's from the ground up. I think the other part is that we will be, in April, Justin, we'll be bringing forward some information to the commission as well for them to look at. Would you think?
Yep, I believe the draft plan will be ready for review by the commissions in April.
Yeah, so I think tonight, what we wanted to do is be able to give you a little background as to what is a comprehensive plan, the existing plan that we have, answer any questions related to that, in anticipation that we will be having a plan for review here coming up shortly.
Commissioner Barth.
Question, for John or Justin. So this review period, when it's submitted to the government agencies and surrounding communities, does that put anything in limbo for potential development to come through if there's like a rezoning request or comp plan amendment? I mean, is there a period of time where that can't take place?
Yeah, I think in June is when you have to have any comprehensive plan amendments in by. The Met Council won't be reviewing any amendments until the next plan is adopted.
And so this deadline you spoke of was the end of 2018, and that's when it's going to the surrounding communities and government agencies, and then what's the review?
Actually, we have to have it all finished by December.
Okay.
So the review period is at least 6 months.
Okay.
Hopefully, we'll hear back before all the communities before that time, and we can go ahead and get our plan adopted.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Justin, you had said that they had an expanded review, citizen review. Do you have any sense of how much more people have been involved in that? I mean, has there been a bigger outcry than previously?
Yeah, well, the last time we did it, we had an open house before the comprehensive plan kind of was being kicked off, and then there was an open house at the end of the project where people could come and review it and give comments. This time, we're going to have both of those meetings, but we also have a lot more interaction, excuse me, with, we did a lot of community surveys that were available on our website. We put links on Facebook. We printed out copies of it was a Survey Monkey. We printed out hard copies and brought it to several churches and senior centers. We also have a interactive mapping program on the project website where you could identify physical areas of the city that you felt needed extra attention or were good examples of things you wanted to see other places. We've had several pop-up meetings where we went to Holiday Hoopla downtown and this winter, and Rivertown Days, and kind of forced people to participate, if you will, as they're walking by, kind of pick their brain, and had some interactive boards with input. And the comprehensive plan, 2040 plan, will have an appendix at the end that'll have all that feedback that we've received listed in there. We've had pretty extensive interviews with focus groups with community members that have specific interests for different portions of the plan. We've met with groups of realtors, groups that were involved with athletic associations, and that's kind of listed in the report also. We had our consultant did 2 solid days of interviews with all those individuals and groups.
Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioners, any other comments, questions?
Just real quick, and I'm just throwing it out there. You've been involved with this quite a bit, John? The comprehensive plan update, you and Justin?
Yeah, Justin's been taking the lead here.
Just curious, has there been any recurring themes that have come through all the outreach that you guys have done?
Yep, we've heard a lot about transportation. We've heard a lot about the need for affordable housing. A lot of people like the small town atmosphere, and that was one that was kind of common throughout. In fact, I think maybe last time some of the comments for that was a little more vigorous because we were seeing a lot of growth at that time. We haven't had a lot of growth, but people do like the small town feel, and I think they'd like Hastings to grow and like new opportunities, but they still want to keep the character the same that it's been. There's also a lot of feedback wanting more employment in town here. Build on our industry here and have more jobs in town.
I'm just curious, have you guys have done economic base analysis and all that?
We have a economic competitiveness chapter in the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Just curious too, you mentioned transportation issues, like what? Is it?
Well, I think a lot of people miss the old transportation that we had in town. It was
The track bus?
track bus, maybe. I think a lot of people find it's hard to get to certain places, right when they want them. I think they maybe would like to see increased ability for something like that. That's more open and more days per week.
Sure.
Thanks for that, Justin.
Sure.
Commissioners, any other comments? I don't think we have anything to action to take on this, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. The items that we have tonight, Commissioners, are informational in nature.
Sounds great. Looks like we're ready to move on to the community development and annual report. Mr. Hinsman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. What we do annually here is put together a summary, a synopsis of some of the things that we've done in community development over the last year. As you know, the community development department here that you see consists of myself, Justin, and then Morgan Hill, who works in economic development. So tonight I'd like to go through some of the things that we've touched upon here on the Planning Commission over the last year and kind of give a summary of where we're at with a few different things. So when we take a look at what happened in 2017, I'm going to be highlighting some of the projects that we worked on here and then some of the statistical data as well from housing and lot inventory, those type of things. Some of the larger projects that we've done, I've highlighted on the screen. The Glendale Heights Voyager Estates apartment, that was an 89-unit apartment building on Glendale Heights, which is just east of the industrial park. So we went through a plat of that as well as a site plan approval. The plans for that project have been submitted to the building department, and we anticipate construction to occur on that this spring. So that should be open by the end of the year and will certainly increase our apartment level as we move forward in 2018.
Is that market rate?
Yep, that'd
Okay.
be market rate. So it'd be, I think, pretty similar in rent structure as the one adjacent to it at the Eagle Point Apartments, just to the south of this. We also had Kateria Smith put in a new funeral home that's in process right now at the Old Knights of Columbus site at 3075 Vermillion Street. So this was a a new project here to go forward, cleaned up a site that was in need of being cleaned up in that area, and provides for Couturier Smith's longevity within town here. We also got to learn a lot about funeral homes and crematories over this year as well, which started with that project. Some of the other projects we were involved in, CrossFit within the industrial park. This is the first new building that's been constructed out there since 2009, so that was great to see. Another 11,000 square foot building for that property. Spiral Brewery downtown, we went through some amendments to our city code for operation and parking related to Spiral Brewery. So that is in process. I got to duck in there today and see the progress that's being made, and the tanks are up. The tap fittings are being put on right now, and I think they're getting very close to opening, so that's wonderful to see. Great River Landing, the Hudson project. We finally sold the dang property, which is something that we've been waiting for a long time. We've been involved in this project since we started working on it probably 2009, 2008 with the bridge project, purchased it in 2010, and we finally sold it a week ago. So Confluence Development now is the proud owner of the Hudson property. They'll be moving forward on their plans to renovate the building into 67 hotel rooms, 21 apartment units, and then banquet facility space and other commercial space. A big part of that's going to be the parkland development between the building and the Mississippi River, so that'll be part of the project as well. Also part of this will be the First National Bank building directly across the street, which Confluence owns. Their plans are to demolish that building and to construct a 119 stall parking ramp at that site. What we will be seeing as the Planning Commission coming up in 2018 are a couple of items related to that. Number one, on the parking ramp, they will need to go through site plan approval of that, so I would anticipate we'll have plans coming forward this spring for review for that project. At the Hudson building itself, we've given some partial approvals to that. They'll need to come back with a landscape plan and some revised grading plans as well for that project. So those are two items for Great River Landing that'll be coming forward later on today. So that'll be great to see. But it's something that we've worked a long time to transfer that building. It's nice to see that that is going to be moving along here. And a couple of deadlines that they have for that project. First of all, they need to get the building permits into us by August 1st of this year. They need to have completion done by December 15th, 2019. So as we move forward from today in March throughout the summer and the next couple of months, you may not see a lot of activity at the building. However, there's a lot of activity going behind the scenes. One of the things they're doing with that project is they are applying for what's called historic tax credits, which help to finance the construction of the building, the renovation of the building. And so they're going to be getting their plan reviews completed by the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, and getting their plans finalized for our review here. And then construction would start at the latest, late summer, early fall of this year, then continue on very strongly through the remainder of 2018 and into 2019 for that project. So that one is moving along, which is great. Justin talked about the 2040 comprehensive plan, which is a once every 10-year endeavor that we enter into, so that's moving along. And then recently we've had the plan approval for a medical office building at the corner of Highway 55 and Pleasant Drive. So some of the site plan things that we've done. Beyond that, we've also been involved in some other ordinance amendment items in 2017. We went through a large downtown parking study. That was helpful in determining some of the parking levels for the Spiral Brewery and for other type of venues like that into the future. We also looked at ordinance amendments for funeral homes as well to allow the Wise Funeral Home to expand and have crematoria services operations within that district. So I would expect with this project, with the Wise Funeral Home, that we will be seeing site plans for that very shortly. I've talked to the developer and the person working in the plans there, and that should be coming here shortly. And then, rounded off, we had a small expansion of the Semstone factory. So we fixed up a garage over there. Looking at some of the activities we're involved in, the Planning Commission's involved in a lot of different things. Comprehensive plans, plats, rezoning, site plans, special use permits. So when you take a look at the things that we were involved in 2017, You compare those against other years, we're about an average of what we typically have had over the last 10 years. We had about 55 of these applications, we average about 57. So we pretty much on average for what we saw coming in 2017. As far as construction activity goes, we built 30 single-family homes last year. That's up a little bit from last year from our single-family total. And for new construction for commercial, we had one new commercial permit, which was the Olina Clinic building, and then we had 40 remodels on that one. So consistent with what we've seen from other years, down a little bit. The 2016 totals on valuation was tremendously higher. I think a lot of those were for, I think that Olina Clinic actually fell into that 14 million one to begin with, because those medical clinic build-outs are quite expensive. So that was probably attributable to the larger amount in 2016. On the zoning permit side of it, pretty consistent with what we've done in the years past with our fence, shed, and sign permits. These are administrative permits that we deal with in-house here for homeowners and individuals. So when you take a look at the history over the last 20, 30 years or so with building permits, we're down here right now. You can see this is the single-family line that went way up in 2003, went down to nothing in 2010, and has been slowly rebounding. So you can see a trend line up here, which is in a good direction. Now, when you take a look at our peer cities, I think some of the surrounding communities that are a little closer in have seen higher building permit numbers, and that's something that we're exploring and trying to get a better handle on as to whether we should be seeing more growth here or whether this is pretty consistent with what we're going to see in the future. Some of the other permit totals that you see here with mobile homes in orange, they're pretty little that we have here. These larger townhome type of units, the gray line, you can see the up and down there. We just haven't seen that type of construction since the recession. And then with the 10 units or more, generally your apartment buildings, these are sporadic. You get one every few years, then you don't get one. So that's what's represented down at the bottom. When you take a look at our existing and potential development, what we do is we take a look at our existing land supply for what we have for finished lots that are available to sell today, land that may be developed that people have shown interest in, and then land within our comprehensive plan that an owner may not have expressed interest, but is within our comprehensive plan and may be developed in the future. So what we're showing here on this map is some of those areas. The areas that are colored in are your single-family townhome apartment condo sites that are available today, that have lots available. And then some of the area that's checkered on the outside in the gray are areas that could come in the future. Either we've had conversations with these individuals or these properties are within our comprehensive plan. So when you take a look at what we have right now within the city, when we look at our single-family subdivision, lots that are available today, we have 84 lots available right now, which if you take a look at what we've done on average over the last 10 years, we've had about 23 permits a year, so about a 3.5-year supply. Now, that's not a terrible supply to have. However, what's not shown here is many of these subdivisions are older and picked over, which means if you take a look at these percent develops and what you have left available, you've got a couple lots here, couple lots here. The subdivisions in which you have a substantial amount of lots available would be the Wallen subdivision, which is at a significantly higher price point, and then some of these, the South Oaks and Riverwood, which are scattered. There's a couple lots here, a couple lots there. The one thing that we have not seen here since the recession is really a brand new single-family subdivision, something that was not a conversion of a townhome subdivision and something that we had not contemplated in the past. So I think that's something that, from what I can see from a lot supply standpoint and what's been going on in other communities, wouldn't be surprised to see that coming forward. From a townhome standpoint, we just don't have many townhomes right now. And I don't know, the attached market is difficult to sense. I hear differing things on it. I hear there's maybe more of a market for single-family detached, maybe a townhome type situation in which you have association maintenance. Maybe that might be something of more popularity in the future. We may see may see a subdivision consistent with that in the near future. When we take a look at our land supply overall, what I've done here is divided it into what we have for existing, which is immediately available, our planned, and then potential, things that could come in the future. Our comprehensive plan took a very generous view of land within the city and what could come in there, so we're certainly not constrained. It's a matter of market more than anything else, and a matter of desire as to how far we want to grow at this point. So I think those are probably the key things to take away from some of the land supply things that we have here. And with that concludes my presentation, and I can stand for any questions.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, any comments, questions for John?
I was just curious, just out of curiosity, obviously. Downtown parking study, what were the big takeaways from that?
The downtown parking study, we found that we took a look at the use on different blocks during different time periods to see if we got to a point where we had hit saturation, because some fears were out there that we may not have enough parking, or we may not have enough parking where people want it. We found is during some of the peak periods there, where our saturation was probably about, at the most, maybe 2/3 to 75%. So we had parking available in most areas there. And it's something that we're gonna have to review further when Great River Landing goes in. We really didn't take into account Art Space and Spiral Brewery and some of the other things that are going on. So it'll provide a baseline for what we do in the future. Prior to us doing this, it'd been about 15 years since we've did a parking study.
Sure.
John, just out of curiosity, when that ramp is built for the Hudson Building, will that be a private ramp, or will that be a municipal when it's all done?
It will be open to the public. It'll be owned by Confluence Development. But we have a stipulation under our property use and maintenance agreement that be open to the public.
Was that just the third floor of that?
That would be
building?
the second floor would be open all the time. They have the possibility on the first floor, which is about 36 spaces, to close that off from time to time, and there is a stipulation as to how often that could occur.
But there is some public parking there all the time?
Right, yeah, the top part, which would be, I think, about 80 spaces on the top, would be unaffected by that, but the lower portion has the ability to be restricted from time to time.
Would the hotel users be using that ramp then?
I think so.
Okay.
There would be some parking, I believe, in the interior of the Hudson Building. There's a basement area that you can access that may provide 10, 20 stalls in there, but I'm unsure whether those would be hotel or resident parking.
Yeah, because then you have the apartments above that, correct?
Yeah.
Was there gonna be a restaurant on top of that building, or is that?
I
Still
believe
planned?
so. I haven't heard specifically that, but
Okay.
I've heard plans for a restaurant as part of the building, yes.
They'll get it figured out.
Exactly.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you, John.
Sure.
Next item on the agenda is our Planning Commission work plan.
Yeah, I can give a little introduction to that, Mr. Chairman. What I want to be able to do is to highlight through the annual report here and through a couple other items of some of the activities that we'll be seeing this year, so that you have an idea of things that are to come. But also to ask the question of other things that we may be wanting to work on independent of other items coming forward. So as I stated within the annual report, there's some items we know we're going to be coming forward. Well, various land use applications that we always see. Things related to the Hudson development, I think to Wise Funeral Home, a few other commercial developments that are out there that I know of. The comprehensive plan, we'll be bringing that back shortly so that we can review it. Along with the comprehensive plan as well, there's an implementation phase of it in which we'll need to review the comprehensive plan against existing ordinances. So we may have a period of time where we'll be bringing, I would imagine, various aspects of the zoning code or other land use ordinances forward to you for potential amendments so that they're consistent with the comprehensive plan. One other big item that we will be likely going through in 2018 is the Mississippi River Corridor Critical Area. Now, this is an area that's essentially from County Road 42, 2nd Street to the river throughout most of the town. And it's the area that's known as the National Park area through MNRA, the Mississippi River National River and Recreation Area. That's what it is. What was part of that act is there was language passed at the state legislature that cities would need to revise their land use ordinances within that corridor to meet certain standards. And so the standards themselves are in the process now of just being finalized. I would imagine that there will be a template ordinance that will be available and that we will review for adoption later on this year. So that's something that we will be involved in. So we have those items on the list of things that we know will be coming up in 2018. But I wanted to open it up to the commissioners themselves to see if there was anything any items of interest to you all that you were either looking for more information or things that we should take up and take a closer look at. So I'll just leave the floor open.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, any comments?
So we're brainstorming?
Yeah.
I just gotta throw this out there, and this is not made to be comical, but it might be comical. My wife says a splash pad would be excellent for Hastings. I said that in my interview too, so just throwing it out there,
Okay.
just to get the floor open for discussion.
Commissioners?
John, has there ever been a process as far as reflecting back? I know last time we were here, we had some dialogue on, maybe past activities, not that we need to be critical of them, but just to evaluate and see if, sometimes people, have a tough time visualizing what's on paper and then, what actually gets built. We had a little discussion about, some of the different projects that have come through. Has there ever been any process like that in a workshop where you look back on the projects and say, now that we see it, and we can drive by it, have you evaluated different, or is there anything that we'd have looked at from a different lens?
One of the things we did similar to that last year, maybe the year before, is we had a kind of a tour of different development sites that we had been involved in the last year or two to kind of look back to see what had developed there and how that may have differed from expectations that the commissioner or council had. And that's something that I think we're planning to do again here very shortly, either spring or early summer.
I think that'd be great. That'd be useful.
Okay.
Helpful.
Does the city council have a separate body or group that gets together and just talks about growth strategies for the area? Is that done mainly through ADRA?
With growth strategy, you're talking population or economic development, or?
Both.
Okay. On the economic development standpoint, we have a strategic plan that Hedra has. And so we're going to be meeting actually in a workshop with them in April just to go over that. So we've got certain items there. We had I think 2016, we'd spent most of that year with a consultant working through that. As far as residential growth strategies, probably the comprehensive plan, the land use portion of that, and we've used that as our map for growth strategies from a population standpoint.
What kind of reach does the city have to the residents of Hastings using different social media channels, different mediums of getting across to them? I'm just curious, do you guys have a number for the reach, or what kind of citizens you're getting to every week or month? Or
Yeah, we're pretty active in social media, primarily through Facebook and Twitter. We've also, our Facebook followers, do you recall what the number is on that out of curiosity? I know it's in the 2,000 or 3,000 or more on that one. And when our communications person has looked at other communities where we have a following up there that's much higher than other communities of our size, Some of the other things that we've been doing as of late is some of these community events that we've had for the Vermillion Street Plan and for the comprehensive plan, we've involved Facebook Live so that people can watch from home or watch later these events. We just started something off today, actually, that just got on our the Facebook page. Is we started a new thing called the City 3. So basically, it's like a 3-minute news clip of 3 highlights of items that Lee Stoffel, our communications coordinator, is working with HCTV, so that'll be on every week. So this week they talked about the Hudson building, they talked about some of the parkland development stuff.
Yeah, that is a impressive Facebook following. That's like you're hitting like 10 to 15% of the city at least.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're of voting age or older adults, you're probably hitting 30 to 40%. I mean, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think she said when we posted the sale of the Hudson property, that had been reposted about 20,000 times, which was amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of things happening once that building goes up down there. Like I kind of see that as a kingpin to the architecture because it follows the river, it's close to the highways, people see it, gets people excited, gets people thinking, you know, brings more culture, entertainment, whatever, adds some to the venue down there. I mean, Hastings loves their downtown.
Yeah.
A lot of the towns, cities up north love their downtowns too, and you guys have somehow managed to keep yours, I would say, a little better than average. Maybe not as good as Shakopee's doing, but you know, it's definitely doing pretty well. That classic car ride that they get down there seems to do really well. It's well attended, but no, I just think it's kind of interesting to talk about. I mean, planning, commissioning, economic development. I mean, I think all of it points to the same thing: is how can we make this a great place to live and work and grow, and you know, all those things are really pretty interconnected. So
Right.
John, one of the things I'd be interested in is hearing more about the Vermillion Corridor project and what kind of things they may be looking at from that perspective.
Good point. Will do.
Also, from a economic development, we've seen a lot of businesses that have kind of been leaving town, or at least rumor of them as well. I heard now that me and Julio's is going to be closing since they're moving out to the golf course. So I'd like to kind of know, you know, what are the strategies they're using to try to draw more businesses into town as well.
Okay. If we can provide some information on that, sure.
That'd be great, thank you.
just to piggyback off of that in my earlier comments, I just think it'd be kind of fun to have a continuous conversation between us, Hedra, the city council, and other places in the cities, just to keep kind of a dialogue going on just kind of some like brainstorming thoughts. And maybe we could throw that on our agenda once, twice a year. Just kind of keeps the information flowing. I know you guys do a great job updating us on everything that's going on in the city. So just a separate agenda as a, like, hey, is there anything we're missing here?
Yeah.
Is there any demographics we're missing here? Any hot areas in the city we're missing here? Or, something that we're not capitalizing on properly?
Okay.
Can't hurt.
Sure. Thank you.
Congratulations on your TV stardom too, by the way.
Oh,
Saw that on CCO News tonight.
yeah, that was nice. They spent a lot of time down here. They spent about 90 minutes. CCO did. They flew a drone over downtown, which was kind of cool, and interviewed Pam Denning, our Hedra chair, Pat Regan from Confluence, and then went down to Sparrow Brewery.
Yep.
So that was great.
Then they took shots of Vermillion Falls too.
Did they?
They led the weather with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, they said that because the reporter that came down here said, "Yeah, I got to go to Emily's." So they were going down that direction.
Anytime we can get some viewers out there. it's great.
Absolutely.
Commissioners, any other comments, things you'd like to bring up? All right, well, thank you, John.
Sure.
Next item is other business.
Yeah, taking a look at other business, there hasn't been much planning commission related items that have gone to city council as of late. So when we take a look at our next meeting coming up here, which would be March 26th, I don't know, I don't have anything right now officially on there for action as far as a land use application goes. You're not aware of anything, are you? I didn't ask you that.
No, not this time.
Okay, so we may have some follow-up for some of these other items, and we'll let you know if we do cancel the meeting. So that's all I have.
Sounds great. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Guess I'll move. to adjourn.
We're jumping at that.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?